So recently, in the previous video, we saw that they nerfed classes, including the Druid. One of the most common builds is the Pulverized Druid, and it was nerfed. So how good is the Druid post-nerf to Pulverize Shockwave aspect? However, we did see a trade-off with some buffs towards our Grizzly Rage. Now, a lot of people are using the Pulverized build, so the question that currently stands is Druid still viable for the Pulverized build after the nerfs? The TLDR, in case you don't want to watch the rest of this, and the proof and the breakdown of it is, yes, the build is actually still viable and probably still the best Druid build. Now, I myself said I was very shocked that they nerfed the Druid. However, I only got to level 71 in the early game. I'm starting to get leveled up. I'm starting to see the damage ramp, and there's a few other Druids that are getting to the higher levels as well. The highest level I have seen in the game for Druid is 90, which is honestly extremely impressive at this point. So, what I see is that the Druid is still 100% viable. The Shockwave aspect damage got reduced, and one of the harder things is the guaranteed overpower kills got doubled, meaning within the same pack, if you have a big pack of mobs, actually being able to get that proc off twice by killing 10 and then killing the last one doesn't happen. Instead, you clear the whole pack, you get an overpower on the next pack, so have you move forth and whatnot. So it does seem like it's more of a one big shot in the beginning, then you kind of move on. Grizzly Rage, however, is still ramping just as well. The actual best aspect in the game is actually the one that extends the duration of Grizzly Rage and increases your critical strike damage. I myself had 980,000 damage, again, even after the nerfs. So it is still 100% viable. I also am stronger in terms of items, Paragon board and all that than I used to be, and I'm right back to where I was, but I only felt like I lost about a third of a day, 4 levels, maybe 5 levels worth of power. Once I had replaced that, I'm kind of right back to where I was. I do think it was overall a little bit of a tuning, but I don't think it was as big of a nerf as a lot of us Druids were maybe worried about. The viability in terms of damage output is still extremely viable. The survivability is still extremely high. The ability to both CC and deal damage to CC enemies is still very high. The spammability of your spirit generation is the difficult part. It takes a while to get that balance just right and to understand exactly what you need to get that balance. I think a lot of people using Urzine's Strength instead of like the nature key passive that generates maximum spirit are probably very frustrated right now. I think what you need to do is probably focus a little bit more on the damage per second aspect of it as associated with, instead of associating all your damage in your mind with one big number. I think it's a little bit more of a spam type of build now. Spam is actually better because Grizzly Rage is a little bit more important than it previously was, even though it was still important in the point of the build. It's still even more important, and so for that reason, I think being able to spam more abilities and get more criticals off during Grizzly Rage is even more important than it used to be. But yes, there's still no viability issues that I'm running. I haven't seen any of the absolute people that are just blowing way past me using anything else other than Earthbear Pulverize, so at the moment it's still 100% viable. In fact, within my team at the moment, we have Rogue, Barbarian, and Druid. Granted, the Barbarian's behind me, the Rogue is ahead of me, but even with that, I'm still doing easily the most damage on the team. So just a heads up, if you're a Druid and you were worried, you were feeling down, the Druid nerfs, you saw my previous video talking about the Druid and kind of memeing on it and all that for the fun of it, it's okay. We're fine. The Druid's fine. It was probably a correct tuning because I bet what they saw is a little bit of internal testing. They probably saw people hitting level 100 on Druid, etc., and then really seeing some insane numbers. They're like, we don't want the public to see these kind of crazy types of numbers. There could have been something like that. I know the Barbarian got a ton of nerfs because of the insane abilities that Rob was demonstrating. And shout out to Rob for being the first level 100. Very impressive performance by him, by the way. And I think they probably are avoiding such similar situations with the Druid. But if you're wondering, for the average player, it's still going to be slow to level, brutal to understand for a first bit. But once you get it together, it really does. I'm starting to slap. I'm starting to slap exactly like I thought would happen, and we're just chewing through mobs absolutely no problem, as demonstrated by the footage here today. So, fellow Druids, don't worry, you're fine. I will say that there is a Werewolf Lightning Storm build that I'm very excited to try out. The problem is the survivability of it. See, the reason the Werebear is so good is because of the survivability that you innately get within the Grizzly Bear itself, making that very viable in terms of damage reduction. Also, there is a couple very good unique items that can help you. For instance, there's a pair of pants that every time, I forget the exact name of it, so you have to forgive me off the top of my head, but there's a pair of pants that when you deal damage, the additional damage goes back to you in a barrier, and that gives you tons of survivability, and you need to be healthy in order to deal your most amount of damage on the werebear. So getting these pieces together, survivability, plus the ability to spam with enough spirit generation is really critical in terms of ramping your damage, because you need to have maximum HP, but you also need to get as many moves out as possible during your Grizzly Rage, as more and more and more criticals within Grizzly Rage are going to give you more and more and more damage. It infinitely ramps critical strike damage while your ultimate is up. And so for that reason, I think the way in which we're thinking about the build, it shifts a little bit more out to machine gun style as compared to just One Punch Man. But that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not an expert yet. I'm only level 76 as it stands currently in the game, and I am still pushing and putting my time to get to level 100. It's going to take a little bit of time. I've been doing 24 hours, sleep 4, 20 hours, sleep 6. You know, it's and then still making video. I'm doing at least 3 videos a day, so I'm getting very tired. I will continue the push when I have it in me, and when we get to level 100, we will address the Druid in its position at that time. I do want to mention 90% of the people that are watching this channel, 90% have not subscribed yet. If that is you, please do consider subscribing. It will help me out immensely. Thank you. Have a great day.